Hello, and welcome everyone. This is the Shine Beyond Cancer Show. This show is designed for anyone who's been diagnosed, currently going through treatment, or is now cancer-free. We know you did not choose to be on this team. We didn't either, but we kicked cancer's ass, and we are here to provide you inspiration, hope, and the tools you desire to manage the confusion and anxiety. We deliver you a remarkably detailed game plan for you to achieve clarity, strength, and purpose, no matter where you are on this journey. We are here to quarterback you through all aspects of your life so that you too shine beyond cancer to live a vibrant, abundant life. However, we are not here to treat, diagnose, or cure any illness or disease. We are making no medical or income claims. Let's get started with the show. Here are your co-hosts. From Wall Street to 9/11 first responder volunteer to wellness warrior and cancer thriver, Mark Slew. And from mom to marketer to master trainer and cancer thriver, Lisa Diamond.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Shine Beyond Cancer. Today's show is Mind Over Matter, Becoming Highly Meditated. I'm your co-host, Lisa Diamond.
And I'm Mark Slew, and we are so happy and proud to have with us today an expert in mindfulness meditation, our dear friend and our meditation coach, Angela Sanders.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thanks for Lisa. Than's for having me today.
We're so happy that you're here. So, maybe some of you out there have a meditation practice. Maybe you used it during treatment. I personally, before I was diagnosed, I had no meditation practice. I couldn't stop my mind from racing a zillion miles an hour constantly. And then you get the diagnosis, and then everything races. And I just knew that somehow I needed for myself to be able to shut down that talk, that cancer talk, the negativity. And I had created this, no negativity policy around me, and I didn't know how to meditate. So I went on YouTube and I put in healing meditations, and I just used guided meditations, but I used them while I was sitting in chemo. And I would meditate after my radiation treatment for 45 minutes while I was doing my little thing that I used to do after radiation, which is another show. But and I would listen to like Fibonacci healing, sound healing, and that kind of stuff, and just kind of zone out. So is that like, what you do? I mean, is that, tell us about like how long you've been doing this as an instructor.
Okay, well, I have been a meditator for over 18 years. And I came to it at a point where many of us do, where you're kind of in crisis mode, where things are starting to fall apart. As you talk about the chatter going on in the mind and really trying to find that center and trying to get back to homeostasis. We're filled with stress. Our lives are constantly running between the demands of our families or our work life or just, social media, just creating a lot of noise in our lives. So what I do is I teach mindfulness meditation. I've been doing it professionally for about 5 years, even though I've been meditating myself and realizing and living the benefits for about 18 to 20 years.
Right.
So for me, I didn't have a meditation practice, and the stigma of meditation for me, and maybe for a lot of you guys, is that it's old school Buddhism, people sitting on a rock in a mountain with their, just sitting there for hours. How has it evolved into today's world?
Yes, that's a fabulous question. There are a lot of myths that I think a lot of people still have about, when you say the word meditation, you do get images of like tree hugger, granola, sitting on a rock just meditating for hours and hours up on a hill somewhere. But I think what's happened today is that it's become a completely secularized process. So a lot of these traditions that came from the East have now been westernized. And we have now, if you did a PubMed search and you just put in mindfulness meditation, you would find over 2,000 peer-reviewed clinical studies looking at the benefits of mindfulness in different categories. Everything from stress reduction, attention and focus, depression, well-being, boosting your immune system, there is just you could just weave
And
through
you
tons
also
of
told
data.
Lisa and I about all the companies, like the millennial companies that are, hiring millennials that have this as a practice. in their
Absolutely,
firm.
yes, so it's made it to the mainstream, so companies like Google, HBO, Goldman Sachs even, high Wall Street
Wow.
firms are implementing mindfulness meditation practices to help their leadership see clearly, keep focused, really focus on what's most important for their businesses. We see it in schools to help kids with attention and focus and emotional regulation. We also see it in hospitals to help improve outcomes. So it is widespread, and it is primarily because of this data that is continuing to grow, both on the physical level, and then we'll get into some of the brain science that's supporting
Right.
the benefits of mindfulness.
So I was going to ask you, so tell us about some of the science. Like, I have personally read some studies that have been done and published where, because I'm a personal trainer, and people always say I can't do that, and I'm like, oh yes you can.
Mhm.
Like, it's up here, where they've taken athletes that have that are sitting all hooked up, and they're running their race, and their body is responding even though they're sitting in a chair as though they ran that race,
Yeah. And
right?
that-
And it's
yes.
just your mind. It's the mind, right?
It is the mind.
So
and
what
then-
are some of the studies as far that you know of as far as healthcare and kind of for people going through treatment and such?
Okay, so what we can start with kind of on a general level, the science. So the science primarily shows the clinical benefits of mindfulness. One of the most pervasive benefits is its ability to lower your stress, right? So when you take a breath in and you release a breath, you are initiating the vagus nerve. And when you-
Anybody on this thing going through stress right now? I would have to think yes.
I would
Absolutely.
think that when you're going through a health challenge such as cancer, you are
Yes.
thinking about things that might happen in the future. You may be lamenting about things that happened in the past, and all of those things, future thinking and past thinking, are robbing you from the present moment. So when you can, the definition of mindfulness is being in the present moment without judgment and noticing what's happening, what's really happening in this moment. And so when we do that, we still our minds, and through our breathing, we initiate, as I said, the vagus nerve, and we bring on a rest and digest response. So we're kind of
Okay.
turning off the flight or fight, which is
Right.
releasing cortisol
Yeah.
and adrenaline, those things that cause inflammation in the body, that cause negative effects on our immune system and our ability to even fight cancer at a certain level.
Right.
And just really rob us of the joy that's in the present moment. So the studies show reduced stress and reduction, improved focus and concentration, so you can actually stay in the moment longer, increased resilience, so when something goes wrong, instead of spiraling
That's
out of
very
control,
important. Right.
Wow.
you can bounce back quicker because you have a better gauge of what's really happening versus what's just in your head that's being caused by your thoughts. Because how many thoughts do you have in an average day? Do you know?
Not a clue.
70,000.
Yeah, 70,000,
Really?
which is about 43 thoughts per minute. And half of those thoughts, 50% of your waking time, is spent not thinking about what you're doing.
And
Okay.
so the
So
other
your mind is wandering.
thoughts, but you can actually only have one thought at a time.
Right.
And that's where the racing comes in, right? Because
Exactly.
we're racing from one thought to the next.
And unfortunately, they're not even original thoughts,
Ah,
right? Because if they were original thoughts, we would
Wow.
probably have solved world
Can't-
hunger
we'd
by
solve
now. We'd
cancer.
have solved cancer by now.
Exactly.
It's really ruminations.
So-
It's just the brain just kind of going into this autopilot while you're doing something else.
So here's something that I think about, and I'm sure other people are thinking about. How do you start it? Because it's, all right, I'm going through cancer, I'm going through treatment, I have so much going on. I don't need to do something else and put another thing on my plate, but how do you easily start a mindfulness meditation practice?
Okay, it starts with intention, right? So at the beginning of the day or at the beginning of the week is setting your intention to begin a practice, right? And beginning the practice is twofold. There's the mindfulness and then there's the meditation. So mindfulness is about bringing your present moment awareness to your everyday activities, talking, washing dishes, folding clothes, driving, taking a jog, Often when we're doing these things, our minds are just wandering and we are not present with what's happening. So anytime you engage your 5 senses, your sense of smell, your sense of sight, touch, hearing, and taste, you are coming into the present moment.
So people are doing it and they don't know they're doing it if they're in the present moment.
Right.
So you started a practice, but you don't even realize you started a practice.
Right, if you are present while you're doing something, you
Right.
have already begun a
But
practice.
how many times have you driven from point A to point B, got to point B in one, like,
How did I
How
get
did
I
get
don't
there?
even remember
Yeah.
just doing that drive, right?
Exactly.
And that happened to me when the radiologist handed me back my ultrasound and said, "I'm sorry, you're gonna need to see a breast surgeon." And I like, what? And I do not remember driving from that parking lot to home at all. Like,
Well, you're
and that's-
also partially in shock.
Yes, of
Yeah,
course,
your brain
but-
was trying to function.
But even, I mean, we do it on
A daily basis.
No, and that's because our minds are so, the brain is such an incredible organ that it can learn a task and then do that task, and you can be doing, your mind can just wander and do other things at the same time. So it's really becoming consciously aware of that wandering. So there's the mindfulness, being present, and then there is the meditation. And I kind of compare the meditation to lifting weights. If you want to build muscle, you have to, so the muscle to be present in your mindfulness, you're developing your prefrontal cortex. Each time you meditate, you're actually rewiring your brain.
That's a great analogy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's called a practice, because you just like if you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you're not going to eat healthy just one day a week or
Right.
exercise one day a week. It's really a practice. It's a commitment. And as you do this on a daily basis, I promise you will start to see the rewards of the practice. Your stress levels will come down. You'll be more present. You'll be able to manage pain more effectively. You won't be over-identifying with your pain. You will enrich the relationships around you because you'll actually be connecting with people.
That'll be
not
another
letting-
show. We bring Angela back for the relationship show.
Yeah, no, it kind of has this domino effect. So just becoming present and really cutting or, downshifting the stress hormones and upshifting the feel-good hormones really helps with your healing, with your immune system, with, as I said, your relationships, and just overall well-being. Your mood starts to improve as well. So a lot of benefits just by beginning the informal and then the formal practice of meditation. Lisa, I like what you said. If you're confused now, it's not like 20 years ago, you can actually find guided meditations. There are apps for guided meditation. Insight Timer is a good one. Calm is another good one.
And do they break
Breathe.
them down like in different categories?
Yeah, there are different
Okay.
categories. So you can do a mindfulness of breathing, which I suggest for beginners. So you really get in touch with your breath. And I love working with the breath because you always have your breath,
Exactly.
right? As long as you're breathing, you've got your breath. And so using that as your focus of attention is the way we begin.
What do you recommend to everybody as a starting point, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or just as much as you
Right.
could do?
I recommend if you can set a timer in the first 2 weeks for 10 minutes a day, just focusing in on your breathing.
In the morning, night, or does it matter?
It really doesn't matter, but with the caveat that I think it's best in the morning.
Okay.
The data show it doesn't necessarily matter what time of day as long as you do it, but I find that my clients have better success in initiating a new routine if they do it in the morning. So 10 minutes in the morning and then building up to 20 minutes. And the point of meditating, some people think, another myth, is that you have to become devoid of thoughts. And that's just not going to
That's what I
happen.
think. It's not.
No.
That's what happens to me. I try, but there's no way that my mind doesn't
Keep
move.
moving,
Yeah,
keep
absolutely.
moving. And the more you practice, the win is when you notice that your mind has wandered. Okay, so we're focusing in.
Explain that. I don't.
Okay, so let's do it together. Let's
Go
just
ahead.
take a breath in, and then a breath out, and a breath in, and a breath out.
You could try it at home if you want.
Yeah, you can do it along with us, and you can just follow along. And what we're doing is we're noticing how the breath feels as it moves in and out of our body, the sensation of the breath. And so we're focused, that's our focus of attention, is the breath. So maybe feel it as it moves through your nostrils. Maybe you can feel a coolness or a tingling. And then out through your mouth. Or maybe you can feel it in the chest with the rise and fall of your chest as you're breathing. Or maybe even with the expansion of your belly as you take a deep breath in. So now just notice your personal breathing. You know, how are you experiencing it in this moment? And you continue to do that, you know, over and over for the duration of the 10 minutes. And when your mind wanders, you notice that it's wandered, and you just bring it back to that sensation of your breath.
Got it.
Okay, so it's not like, oh, I'm thinking I didn't do it right.
It's
You're
not a
doing
loss.
it
You didn't
absolutely
lose it.
right.
Okay, gotcha.
Because
Okay.
there's no wrong, you know, it's just all, mindfulness is all about noticing what's happening in the present moment. And if you have a flood of thoughts, you notice I have a flood of thoughts, and then you come back to your breath. And that will start to stabilize the mind so that it's not wandering, and you become more aware of when it does wander. It's kind of like, you know, a lot of teachers talk about a puppy. You know, when you're training a puppy and the puppy runs away, that's your mind running away, and then you just bring it back gently and say, no, we're here now, and it runs away, and you say, no, we're back here now. So it's just over
Got it.
and over again, and the practice is that as your life changes, your practice changes, you know, so some days it's going to be really easy. You might be on vacation and you're like, oh, this is a piece of cake.
Right.
Then you
Right.
get back to work, or you get back to, you know, the
Reality.
throes of your treatment, and your thoughts are racing again. Just know that you have the power to bring yourself to influence how you're experiencing that present moment. At any time you can access your breath to get you there.
That's great.
So I know you didn't have what would be considered a traditional meditation practice when
No.
you were going through treatment, but what was your form of meditation?
My form of meditation, I was told by a couple of different coaches, is laughter. I watched funny movies. I watched a show on True TV called Impractical Jokers. Four guys from Staten Island that ran this whole like prank show, and I watched it hours upon hours upon hours a day just to laugh and get the endorphins up and get like
Yeah.
my mind off of what was going on for me, because like I just said, my mind was racing in a million different directions, so I didn't really think I could meditate because I didn't think I was doing it right, but now I know I was doing it right. But my form was just to laugh and just enjoy myself, and just that's it, just watch these funny movies and funny TV shows.
And what
Yeah.
does that laughter do?
Well,
to the
it's
mind?
kind of interesting because, you know, it's another way of releasing those good hormones, as you were saying, you know, the things that help to boost your immune system as you're going through treatment, and to turn off the stress response, because it's kind of hard to be stressed while
When
you're
you're
watching
laughing, yeah.
Impractical Jokers, you know, so that's really, you know, the whole benefit of both of those techniques or activities is that you're turning, or you're
So I
downshifting
did have
the
a
stress
mindfulness.
response.
You did.
I didn't even
You were
know
totally
that.
present with those,
You
with
did.
your laughter.
I was.
That's
Well, it's
awesome.
wonderful.
So Angela, we try to end our show every time with something, call it a gift, a nugget, something that our people that are watching this can take with them and use. Do you have something that our audience may?
I do. I think that as I was thinking about this, because you asked me, what would you want to leave with people? And I guess what I would want you to know is that you have the power to influence your physical and emotional health. Accessing that power is part intention and part commitment. And meditation is an amazing transformative tool that you can use to help build that mind-body connection. It helps to facilitate your healing, your overall well-being. So you've got what it takes. It's built in, so access it.
Okay.
So on our website on our podcast, we're going to give Angela's information in the notes. So if anybody wants to learn more of what Angela does, or learn more of her coaching, which is fantastic for me, I learned so much in the last 10-15 minutes, we'll give you the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That'd be
and
okay with you?
on the website there's a resources tab which has some guided meditations. So if you want to get started with some guided meditations, please, you know, find your way there and start.
Okay, awesome, thanks. So that's going to wrap up today's show. On our next episode, I am going to get to interview Mark Slew again. And the show is called The Body Issue, but it's...
Not the ESPN Body Issue. Like, if anybody reads the magazine, we're not going to do that right now.
No,
Not yet.
We're not going to be like this or anything like that. But we're going to talk about the, you know, where our body was before cancer, how it changed post, and where we are today. But we're going to hear all of that from Mark.
Because there are so many things that happen to your body when you get chemo, radiation, whatever you're going through right now. Everybody's different, but we're just going to share our experiences and what happened to us.
Okay. So Angela, thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for
So
having
grateful
me.
for you to be here.
Oh.
We might bring you back again another time. Go like a little.
What do you mean, might?
Well, I know. Well, she didn't say yes
Oh,
yet,
it's been a lot
but we
of
would
fun,
love to
and-
just to go like a little deeper,
Deeper, right.
because
Absolutely.
you know there's a lot more. I mean, 90% of what we do is right up here. So,
Right.
So that's it for today.
So
And
until
so
next
until
time.
next show,
Keep shining.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Shine Beyond Cancer Show, the #1 cancer survival guide show for people wanting to kick cancer's ass and take their life to the next level. Be sure to visit our Facebook group, Shine Beyond Cancer, or head over to shinebeyondcancer.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Until next time, keep shining.